Hello and welcome to Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. With cast and crew taking the week off, this is a one-man show, so let's get going. First, the news. Arlington Public Libraries are experimenting with something called automatic renewal. It means that libraries will automatically renew checked-out books without any action on the part of the borrowers. According to library spokesman Henrik Sundqvist, we want patrons to enjoy their reading and leisure time and not worry about overdue items. The limit will extend to 3 renewals, but bear this in mind. It only applies to print books, not e-books. A number of new laws took effect on July 1st for Virginians. Starting in no particular order, the purchase age for tobacco and vaping products has been raised from 18 to 21 years. There is an exception for those on active military duties with a valid military ID. Also, bars are now allowed to advertise the prices of featured alcoholic beverages. However, the ads should not induce overconsumption or be pitched to minors. Anyone who makes phone calls using fake caller ID information to defraud, harass, or intimidate can be charged with a Class 3 misdemeanor, which is punishable by a fine of up to $500. Also, telephone solicitors and the sellers of the property, goods, or services they represent are now liable for violations of the Virginia Telephone Privacy Protection Act. The Act limits call hours to times between 8 o'clock a.m. and 9 o'clock p.m. It also prohibits unwanted calls after the recipient has stated that they do not wish to be called. Here are some items for parents. Babysitters who work more than 10 hours per week are no longer exempted from Virginia's minimum wage requirements. Legislation is underway to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 to $8 per hour. Also, young children are required to ride in rear-facing car seats until age 2 or until they meet the minimum weight standard for a forward-facing seat, which is usually 35 pounds. Adele Quo will return with Easy Being Green next week, so let's move on to Community Bulletin Board, or CBB. Here's an event for rising 6th to 12th graders. It's called DIY Duct-Taped Pencil Pouches. The idea is to turn a Ziploc bag into a colorful pencil pouch using duct tape. All materials will be provided, and participants will be able to take home 2 pencil pouches, one large and one small. However, pencil pouches are only the beginning. These ideas can be extrapolated for making a duct tape wallet, a duct tape dollhouse, you can buy tape with various designs, and even a small duct tape kayak. Note, however, that this one is being used in the safety of a swimming pool. At any rate, you can get started on Wednesday, July 10th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. at Cherrydale Branch Library, 2190 North Military Road. There's another deep dive presentation coming up for adults aged 18 and over. It's called Homes Made of Sticks, and it's all about the surprisingly elaborate world of nest construction. It's impressive enough that birds are able to make homes with just their beak and feet. This presentation also looks at other creatures that also use sticks to build homes. That's coming up on Thursday, July 11th from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. at Gulf Branch Nature Center and Park, 3608 North Military Road. The cost is $5. To register, call 703-228-4747. Also, there's a special event coming up at Penrose. It's called Wreck on Wheels Art in the Park. Participants will learn how to make sea turtle dot paintings, Matisse cutout splatter paintings, blown ink art on mini canvas, and other projects. Sound messy? It is. Be sure to wear clothing that can stand a stain or two. That's on Friday, July 12th from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. at Penrose Park, 2200 6th Street South. Admission is free. Meanwhile, there's still time to check out the final scheduled film at Roslyn Movie Night. It's the animated feature Incredibles 2 from Pixar. That's on Friday, July 12th, starting at dusk, which is around 7:30 p.m. at Roslyn's Gateway Park, 1300 Lee Highway. Travel by metro is recommended. Denise Pringle is off this week, but she did submit a review. This is it. Blackbeard, now at Signature Theatre, is swashbuckling its way through its summertime run, providing the dramatic action of sword fights and sea battles and some tender moments of the renowned pirate examining his relationship with his father and developing a new one with a young stowaway who wants to be a pirate too. Blackbeard is a world premiere musical with books and lyrics by John Dempsey and music by Dana P. Rowe, whose works include The Witches of Eastwick and Brother Russia from seasons past. It is directed by Eric Schaefer with choreography by Matthew Gardner and fight choreography by Casey Kaleba. Scenic designer Paul Tate Depew III has transformed the Max into the deck of a pirate ship. Costume designer Eric Teague has given the characters their iconic appearances. Standouts are the sweeping coat of Blackbeard, the watery gowns of Dominique and La Mer, and the horned helmet of Odin. This production also credits a wig designer, Ann Nesmith, who is responsible for Blackbeard's smoldering facial hair and the jewels woven into Odin's hair and beard. Chris Hawk has been brought in from Broadway to powerfully embody the larger-than-life legendary pirate who is said to have lit fuses in his beard to make himself appear more menacing. Hawk makes the swagger look easy. Signature regular Kevin McAllister plays the indispensable mate Caesar. Nova Y. Payton belts out Spellbound as Dominique. Maria Egler is the mermaid-inspired aquatoned La Mer. And Bobby Smith, no stranger to stealing scenes at this venue, does it once again as he tries to drink Blackbeard under the table in Valhalla. Rory Boyd is another newcomer as the tender-footed stowaway Roger. He is set to carry on the legend of Blackbeard after his death. It was reminiscent of the young lad at the end of Camelot. This musical will invite comparisons to the Pirates of the Caribbean film series with its broad humor, dazzling costuming, and fast-paced fight scenes. Add to those the delightful musical numbers, performed by a cast that easily lives up to Signature's reputation of knowing how to stage a musical to perfection. The eerie puppetry that summons up the dead pirates to expand the ranks of Blackbeard's army is an unexpected extra spectacle. Blackbeard at Signature Theatre continues through July 14th. It's perfect summertime entertainment. You'll leave the theater bursting with a desire to become one of Blackbeard's buccaneers. And that's our report from Denise Pringle. Now it's time for news for seniors. Do you know what your proper fluid intake is? Whether it's water, juice, or fruit, it's critical to one's overall well-being to be properly hydrated, especially on days of extreme heat. Sarah Baker of Beata Home Health will discuss the importance of hydration on Tuesday, July 9th at 11:30 a.m. at the Lee Community and Senior Center located at 5722 Lee Highway. To register, call 703-228-0555. Also, there are services that translate voice to text on your device to make phone calls clear again. A representative of Clear Captions will describe the newest technology available today to converse effectively on the telephone. That's coming up on Tuesday, July 9th at 10 o'clock in the morning at Walter Reed Community and Senior Center, located at 2909 16th Street South. To register, call 703-228-0955. Finally, there's a free service for individuals with disabilities and for individuals 65 years and older. It's called Move Travel Training. They will teach you how to use metro buses and trains to get to where you need to go. To learn more about Move Travel Training, attend a meeting on Friday, July 12th at 1 o'clock p.m. at the Aurora Hills Community and Senior Center located at 735 18th Street South. For more information, call 703-228-5722. And as always, thanks to Judy Masabny for contributing our senior stories. Last week, we promised you additional analysis of the County Board salary cap increase. Here it is. Last week's roll-in showed a cartoon drawing of an old Victorian-age villain picking the pocket of a poor person while holding his nose and declaring that it was unseemly. The word unseemly came from a county board member who nevertheless voted for the 63% increase in the county board salary cap. Earlier, another board member used the word awkward, which could have been illustrated by a different cartoon. I've noticed something about these meetings. The public is allowed to speak, briefly, but the board always gets the last word with no chance for public rebuttal. This segment is an attempt to do something about that. First, the county board members are indeed preparing to increase their compensation at some future meeting, or they wouldn't have needed to increase the salary cap. Second, after a couple of years of budget reductions to a number of county-funded programs, the board has obtained additional revenue by increasing the real estate tax. Many Arlington homeowners fall into one of these three groups. First, there are the long-time residents who bought their houses in the 1960s when prices were in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. Some of these houses are now being assessed at over $600,000. Second, there are descendants of those residents who have inherited their homes. Their personal income may not have been sufficient for them to purchase these homes outright, but the high assessment and tax increase encumbers them as well. Third, there are the people who have just managed to finally purchase a home, but are now struggling to meet their mortgage payments. The tax increase also adds to their woes. These are the people whose pockets are being picked in the cartoons. To be fair, there will be a number of beneficiaries from the tax rate hike. The school board, who presented an unbalanced budget, whose gap will now be filled. Some other programs may see fewer cuts to their funding. However, it's unlikely that any of them will see an increase of up to 63% in the next few years. That unique distinction belongs to the Arlington County Board. Since the board voted to approve both the tax increase and the increase to their own salary caps, they are depicted as the active cause and most extreme beneficiaries. Let's do a little more analysis of that meeting.
It is actually not true that this is considered a part-time job. The Code of Virginia does not actually define the full or part-time nature of being an elected official. It defines it as its own separate thing.
I think not being clear what we do or don't do outside the county actually perpetuates the widespread misperception that this is a part-time job.
Where could Arlington residents have gotten the idea that board membership is considered part-time? Well, one place is the county board page of Arlington's very own website. It says, although board membership is part-time, board members spend many hours preparing for and attending board meetings. And it goes on from that.
The online instrument reveals that 20% wanted to see either no increase, or even some people who sent in comments wanted to see a cut. 8% were interested in paying county board members the max of that slider, which I believe was $121,000. A quarter wanted a salary greater than $85,000, and a plurality were interested in something above the current cap up to $85,000.
The press release says that a total of 223 people responded to the survey. Votes for no increase came to 46 people. Those who wanted the maximum increase was 17 people. Those who wanted an increase in the upper half was 97 people. Those who wanted a lower half increase came to 45 people. An average salary cap figure could have been derived, but it wasn't reported at the meeting. Meanwhile, the opinions of 223 people were considered sufficient out of approximately 150,000 registered voters in Arlington.
This is only about making sure that loss of income is not a barrier to seeking this office.
Arlington's press release mentioned individual AMI for the Washington, Arlington, Alexandria metro area for a board member, as opposed to a member of the general population. Try looking online for median bus driver salary, and you'll see a 2015 level of $30,950. For median high school teacher salary, you'll see a 2017 level of $59,170 nationwide. But if there's a point, it's this. The loss of income argument is dependent upon the career of the individual seeking county board membership. Here's a thought that wasn't discussed in the meeting about board membership. Collectively, the 5 county board members have the power to affect how the rest of the citizens live. In addition, there are only 5 positions for that job, and each position typically becomes available only once every 4 years. Therefore, there doesn't seem to be a compelling need to attract a large number of candidates. The need for school teachers and bus drivers is far greater. As noted in previous segments, the board salary survey offered online did not appear to be an entirely good faith effort. There were no instructions on how to use the slider on the chart. By the very start of the meeting, the board members limited themselves even further by listing only 3 options: a 10% increase, a 63% increase, and an increase of well over 100%. That means that the survey respondents who selected no increase were functionally ignored. The survey default setting of 85,000 was increased for inflation to over 89,000. And similar to the layout of the survey, that 89,000 plus salary cap was presented as the middle option, which made it appear more reasonable than if it had been listed as the maximum of 2 options.
This action tonight, if we take it, is to raise the cap. It doesn't actually change any money.
This is a change in the cap, not in appropriations.
This is not a raise. This is increasing the cap.
The salary cap is a limit, similar to a speed limit for cars. The speed limit in a school zone could be increased by 63% from 25 miles per hour to 40 miles per hour. And the people responsible might protest that none of us would actually drive that fast. But the question would remain, why would you set up such an option if you didn't intend to use it? The salary cap has a direct effect on how high the actual salary can go. Maybe it's more like a kind of blank check, or as some might say, a blankety-blank check.
The pay alone is misleading. Like county employees, board members receive a generous health care plan and a retirement plan. You can take a car on county business. You have a well-paid professional staff of thousands at your beck and call.
Under our form of government, the county manager, in fact, directs the work of all staff. So we don't, in fact, have any staff at our beck and call.
Mr. Weistat does not bring an uninformed opinion, having just completed a term on the very same board as Mr. Dorsey. Consider the organizational chart as it appears on the Arlington County website. It states that the county manager reports to the county board. The chief of staff, the assistant county manager, and 4 deputy county managers all report to the county manager, who reports to the board. Employees reporting to these officials include human resources, environmental services, human rights, human services, management and finance, economic development, Department of Technology Services, and others. Since the county board is listed above all these groups, it seems likely that they could expect a degree of prompt cooperation greater than what an ordinary citizen would receive. Beck and call might merely be a colorful representation of a real situation.
Pay considerations aside, let's start a conversation about whether Arlington could benefit from expanding board membership to, say, 7 members with a combination of at-large and district seats. I say expand the team, spread the workload, and watch the board's reach and responsiveness improve.
If you expand the board by 2 members, even if they are all at large and not at districts, if you equip those board members with aides as the current board is equipped, you exceed the fiscal impact of the item that is before us today, even if fully realized. If the issue is saving money, that doesn't quite do it for you.
No one mentioned saving money.
My sense more is who we can attract to do this job. I think what you want is not a lot of particularly young people. I think you need a combination, but I think we need to start attracting people who are kind of more in the middle of their careers.
Seriously, who is going to interrupt their career halfway through?
It's critical that folks have the resources and are able to effectively serve.
This sounds like salaries must be increased to attract many more people for only 5 or even 7 jobs.
There were questions about how much we work anyway. This could have been snarky, or it could have been just a genuine inquiry into what it is that we do.
Fundamentally, public office is a public service and includes an element of sacrifice. A county board member knows what he or she is getting into when they run for the job in the first place, including pay. And if they're paying attention, they should have a good idea of what the job entails and the time commitments.
And it's absolutely true that I knew what I was getting into. I had conversations with 2 different previous board members when I decided to run.
It's not about how hard we do or don't work. I really, really do appreciate very much the work that our chair has done in working with staff to find what to me is a very common sense index, the area median income for an individual.
I think benchmarking this full-time job to the average income of a full-time employed individual in our region makes sense.
Arlington's press release mentioned individual AMI for the Washington, Arlington, Alexandria metro area for a board member, as opposed to a member of the general population.
Budgets are critical in estimating board member salaries because higher budgets are associated with more work. DC with a $13 billion budget as compared with $4.6 billion for Fairfax County and $1.4 billion for Arlington. The corresponding board chair salaries are $210,000. That's for DC, $100,000 for Fairfax, and $60,000 for us. These numbers are in line with option 1, raising the salary cap for board members to $61,034 and the board chair to $67,464.
We received about 30 comments. 28 of the comments opposed any increase, but the increase they were commenting on, because they were very clearly saying, I oppose an increase in salary. There was no commentary that I oppose an increase in the cap. There was one comment that said they would favor an increase in salary up to 5%.
This last bit is kind of nitpicking.
This is the way we've always done it. This was set up in the 1930s. Things have changed a lot. We don't do much in our own personal lives that are the way things were done in the 1930s, and there's good reason for that.
Ms. Garvey wasn't even in Arlington in the 1930s. She arrived in 1977.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Then there's the matter of decorum. Board members are addressed by their last names or titles.
I fear that the headlines on RL Now and the local newspaper are going to be the board votes itself a raise.
It will be.
Scott and Scott, this is not a raise.
But non-board members are called Scott and Scott?
It can't just be those who have resources who are able to serve. We need to have the best and brightest.
Best and brightest. This phrase was popularized in the 1960s during the Kennedy administration, and the idea was to recruit people of recognized talent from outside the conventional government channels, often from academia or business. It was not about boosting salaries for those already in office. Also, if higher pay is really necessary to attract the best and the brightest, how does that statement reflect on the current board members?
Broadly, I think that local government has a critical role in ensuring that the American dream can be possible. It has to be possible in Arlington if it can be possible in any place.
The American dream is a phrase that was popularized in the 1930s, but its original meaning has been changed by various groups to mean a number of different things, among them the equal opportunity for each person to rise according to their ability or achievement without regard to their birth or position. Or it could mean owning your own home. Sometimes the American dream has even been identified with success in sports, or how working-class immigrants seek to join the American way of life. Or, as Lawrence Samuel facetiously suggested, work hard, save a little, send the kids to college so they can do better than you did, and retire happily to a warmer climate. The options presented at the meeting were listed as options 1, 2, and 3.
I'll be supporting option B.
Yes, Mr. DeFerranti chose option B. Maybe this is what they mean by thinking outside the box.
This is the only time, and we are the only body under the law that can increase our cap.
This was not the only time. The next time would have come in another 4 years. That would be enough time to circulate a better constructed survey with clear instructions. Enough time to promote wider participation in that survey, including a mail-in version. Enough time to consider expanding the board instead of redefining its time and salary classification. Any one of them could have moved to defer the increase, or at least chosen the lowest option. Instead, they collectively settled on a unanimity of expression that might remind some people of a phrase from many years ago.
Have you no sense of decency, sir, at long last? Have you left no sense of decency?
That concludes this special one-man show version of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. Tune in again next week when the real people will be here. Thanks for watching.